Hello everybody, it's Starrapter here, and I'm super excited because this is the first installment. This is Outer Rim Transmission number 1. This is the new video series that I am doing that is going to invite my fellow Star Wars people of the community to just talk about various topics every time I have one of these episodes. It's usually going to have some sort of topic that I bring a guest on that is usually some sort of expert on. So today I have none other than Matt Wilson of the Geeks Attic. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for having me on this first episode. I'm excited.
Yeah, so just a little bit of a history between me and Matt. We go way back. It's been a couple of years, and I used to watch stuff on his channel right when I started my channel, and there was a lot of really cool crossover between us because we both review a lot of the Star Wars books. Hence why we're going to be talking about Star Wars Legends tonight. But yeah, he was one of those first supporters of the channel, and we were going back and forth. We soon after got connected through Facebook, and we're always just talking about the latest, and especially with the books. And it's been a great up and coming experience. I've been on his channel a couple times, so I thought I'd just deliver the promise of having him on my channel to do something finally. So it's been great to finally just have you on my channel to show all of my subscribers and everybody that checks out the channel about your channel. So let's talk a little bit about your channel. What exactly do you do? What are you currently doing on the channel right now on the GeeksAttic?
Okay, well, I like to do book reviews. That's my primary focus now. When I first started, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just did some subscription box unboxings, and that fell flat. And then I started reading Star Wars books, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to review these and help other people out and guide them, let them know if they should read these books or not. We got the new canon and the old canon. Both, in my opinion, are pretty fun. And I like to do reviews on both of them. You and I are both lucky enough to get review copies in advance a lot of the time. So we get those early reviews out there, and we get to let people know before the books come out whether they should get them or not. And I think that's very helpful. And that's just really what we do: is read the books. So either you can or you don't have to.
That's such a great
So
point
yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah, just it's good to get the word out to the people because some of the stuff we're just so excited after we're reading these books early, and we're kind of going back and forth like, oh, did you get to that part yet? Oh, that part was crazy. It's kind of like
Yeah,
this little book club just between two
yeah,
people because we're
yeah.
and if you live out in the Midwest, I live out on the East Coast, so we're separated. We've actually never met in person. Hopefully one day
Yeah,
at a celebration or
would be
something
awesome.
like that one of these
Hmm.
days, especially with what's going on right now. I can't wait to
Oh,
see people again.
yeah.
But yeah, it's been that kind of online going back and forth throughout the years. And but yeah, lately your channel, I think that what really hooked me on your channel was just the creativity with how you do some of the book reviews just cracked me up. Like you have these like really well thought out like introductions with like the
Oh, thank
book
you.
standing in the doorway, and then like the
Oh,
book like really
that's
great ideas that like add a little bit of flavor that you don't get from anybody else on YouTube. I'm telling you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. The intro to the Aftermath Life. No,
Yes.
not Life Debt. Empire's End review. It's one of my favorite intros that I've done. That and the Queen's Peril, which that book is not out yet, but I've got my review posted. You do as well, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I
So I
do.
think they're a little bit different, but it's one of my favorite intros to that video as well. But yeah, I'm focusing on the Star Wars reviews, canon and the Legends. I've started doing live videos now where I like to have guests come on. Starrapter's been on. He's the master of canon. He
Oh
knows
no.
everything. He's like a vault up here. He knows. He retains everything. So that's what attracted me to your channel. It's like you know what you're talking about and you just retain it. And I'm like, I can't remember this part in Star Wars. What is this? And you're like, oh yeah, here you go, Episode 4, Season 3. And you're like, how do you know
I
that?
try, I try to take good notes, but sometimes it really bugs me if I'm like reading. And what I do a lot actually with the canon books is I'll read a species or a character name, and it'll bug me. And a lot of the times I'm by a computer, or I'll just bring up my phone and be like, all right, what does that species look like? Because I have to get it right in my head when I'm reading the story.
Right,
It's not
right.
gonna work any other way. But I thought one of the funniest videos I've seen in a long time for me was something you put out recently. It was about, I think you were actually live streaming it, if I'm not correct, but I catched it after the fact, of some kind of Legends creature creation that you're making out of this goo.
Yes,
It was
Waru.
like the Food Network for like creating this crazy Star Wars legend jelly creature with like
Oh,
that was crazy.
yeah, that was so stupid. Yeah, it's just a silly thing. I have this little thing with the Crystal Star. It's an expanded universe book. It's Legends. Okay, it's the worst book that I've ever read in my life.
Oh
And
my gosh.
the character, he's it's just comical how stupid it is. And people like to tell me, "Oh, Matt, he likes the Crystal Star over there on his channel." I don't. I hate it. But lately, I've been kind of making poking fun at myself with it, and just I have a video where I had a book thrown at my head, and it was, what is
Yeah.
this? And it was the Crystal Star. So just doing stupid things like that. It's fun.
Oh man. So why I brought you on here is you call me like the canon master. I don't know what the moniker was, but I'm very much like, okay, whatever. I don't declare myself that. But anyway, I consider you very proficient with Star Wars Legends, and recently, very impressive. You actually have, I think I'm correct on this, every single Legends book ever created on one
Yes, I do.
bookshelf.
I do now. Yes, yes. They all have all in paperback except for Kenobi. That's my only hardcover. That was the only one that I found in hardcover when they were still on the well, I guess they still are on the shelves, but when they were still making the Legends canon, got the hardcover. I read it, fell in love with it. Was going to get a paperback to replace it because have Unity everything paperback, but
Yeah, I have the
there
paperback
because
one on that shelf
it's
back
funny.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny because it's a little picture of Kenobi on the spine up at the top, and he's above all the other books. So it's like Kenobi has the high ground on my bookshelf.
It's a meme
So
come to life.
yeah, so
Oh
yeah,
man.
I do have all of the Star Wars novels in the expanded universe. I don't have all of the YA novels and junior books, all that stuff.
Okay.
I just focusing on the novels.
Okay.
So
Okay. And just jumping off that into our main topic of the Legends conversation here. So, what book are you currently reading for Legends? Are you reading a Legends book right now?
right now, I'm not. I just finished two of them. Well, technically one, but one of them is a novelization, which is Episode One, The Phantom
Oh.
Menace. I have a little Obi-Wan Kenobi sticker in there that I got from a Doritos package back when the special edition. No, when Episode One came out. That's funny.
Oh, all those promotional things. That was
Yeah.
great.
And we've got Outbound Flight, which I just finished, and this
Oh.
I have not done my review on this one yet, but I'm telling you, this book blew my mind. I was getting a little Star Wars fatigue,
Huh.
read this, and it just picked me right up out of the trenches, and I'm ready to read more. So my next book that I will be starting next week, we've got Star Wars: The Approaching Storm. So
Huh.
yeah, making my way through the expanded
What's that
universe.
one about?
This one, I'm not sure. I'm one of those people, as we've talked about with the new canon stuff. I don't like to read excerpts or the back of the book to read anything about it. I like to go
Oh.
in blind,
Okay.
just see where it goes. But I've heard mixed reviews on this one. Some say it's amazing. Some say it's the worst of Star Wars. It's like you can't get any worse than the Crystal Star. Um, but it's written by Alan Dean Foster, who did the
Oh.
novelization for Star Wars and for The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I have not made my way through the expanded universe all the way yet. I'm working on it. It's hard to do when you're reading Legends
I
canon and the new canon.
I gotta give you a lot of credit, man, because I mean I kind of gave up reading Legends. I think the last Legends story I read was Shadows of the Empire, just because I like it so much, like the whole story. But for me, like I mean, this is kind of my stupid reasoning for it. It's like I don't want to get like the details confused in my head. Cause like I
Right.
don't, for me, I know myself too much at this point that I'd be like, oh, well, this happened in canon, and then somebody's gonna be like, no, dude, you're confusing that with Legends. I'd be like, no, like I could see that jumbling in my mind, like all these
Yeah.
facts, especially with a book like Outbound Flight. Now tell me, Outbound Flight, that's almost like it almost could be like canon because in a sense it's dealing with events, but they're not contradicting anything that the Zahn has written since, right?
Right. Right. From I know there's a couple other Zahn books that I have not read yet, but this is the first introduction to Thrawn in the expanded universe, and it's incredible how Zahn kept a lot of that lore that he built with Thrawn to bring into canon. And this book, it just blew my mind. But yeah, there's a lot of similarities between Thrawn in the expanded universe and in the canon, especially like his history. It's an incredible book. I do highly recommend you read that one because it does seem like it could bleed over into canon.
That's what Zahn has spoken about at conventions I've seen him at. Just the fact that he's actually writing these things in such a brilliant way, where he's not actually like stepping on his own toes, and he's got the creative to do that because he's the one that made the story, so he
Right.
knows where the stories go. So it's great for that concept to bring this character back from Legends, and to still not like have any of the fans necessarily upset because it's not undoing any of the stories that they've really liked so far. Well, now when we get to the Hair of the Empire, and we're gonna see what happens with Thrawn, and I'm not gonna tell you about that because you're not done with Rebels yet, right? So I'm not gonna go there.
Yeah. See, it's funny because with the stuff too, you can only have it's almost like you can have the expanded universe, the canon, and then the Thrawn canon. You know, that's just it's what it's really like, and it's incredible how he's been able to do that. So,
Oh man.
yeah, and there's really cool stories with the Jedi too. That in one of my reviews of an early expanded universe book, I talked about one of the characters. I was like, "Oh, we have a brief cameo by Joris Sabioth.
Whoa, really?
Appears way down in the line. He's the main character of this book."
What?
Yes, I never knew that.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and the stuff that he does and who he is, it blew my mind. I'm really talking this book up.
No, I'm actually.
It's funny because
really,
I never really heard about this book before. You know, I was kind of dreading it.
And I thought somebody's like, "Oh, it's got Anakin in it or something." I'm like, "Oh, that could be interesting."
Yeah, yeah. But like to me, I like to judge a book by the cover. I know that's bad, but I always thought that book was the cover's not that great. I was like, "That looks boring." Zahn's gonna go into some sci-fi mumbo jumbo, but no.
Yeah, I really like that one segment you had a couple weeks ago with judging a book by its cover, and you had Chainsaw Productions on there, and he was talking about all the Jedi Apprentice novel covers.
Yes.
And like some of them are just not good.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. There are some really bad covers out there.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what makes the Expanded Universe / Legends books so great, because at this time, when we didn't have any kind of movies coming out, any kind of physical, any on-screen stuff, right? You see these covers, and it shows us, like, oh, this is what Luke Skywalker looks like after Return of the Jedi. Like, it shows these glimpses, and they are, like, ingrained in my brain, right? Because these are what we were reading as we're imagining in these stories. Like, I mean, when I'm reading, I try to visualize as much as I can what I'm actually experiencing through the words. So some of those covers are just fantastic, right?
Yeah.
Like, they really represent what's going to happen in that book so well.
I agree. Especially those X-Wing books. Each cover is like a great work of art.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, what's your first Legends book? What do you remember?
Oh yeah, I remember because it was very recent.
Oh, okay.
2014, I believe. That's when. No, 2012. Correct. You should know this when George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney.
Yep.
It was 2012. Okay. That's when I got my first Star Wars book. I'd always thought, it'd be fun to read Star Wars. But then when I'd go look at the bookshelf at the bar, way too many, not getting involved there, don't even know where to start. And then one day, I thought, you know what the heck? I'll just go in and I'll look at them and I'll grab one and read it. And it's just, I don't care if I pick up in the middle of a story or not. We'll see how it goes. And luckily, the first book that I got was Death Troopers by Joe Schreiber. This book was awesome. This is what hooked me to Star Wars. So I know there's a hook going into the Stormtrooper's eye. So that could be me, and this could be the Star Wars books. But yeah, that got me hooked. Since then, I was like, I'm going on a mission to collect all of the Star Wars books. And then the new canon stuff started to come out, and I was like, I'm gonna get these too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so since this, I have read maybe 40 of the expanded universe books. It might be more, might be less. I don't know. I do have a
Now,
spreadsheet somewhere, but um, I loved it so much. One of my
what
favorite Star Wars books of all time, Death Troopers. Listened to
what
the
do you
audiobook of
think?
it as well, and it was incredible.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion, right? Like there's another option to experience these books now in audio form, and I'm generally like an only read type person,
Mhm.
just because again the extensive note taking, I feel like that can get kind of a little bit difficult if I have to constantly like rewind, trying to wait, did I get that right? Or if I'm not
Right.
paying attention, I have to be like, if I'm reading, I'm focused. If I'm listening, I could be passive listening, and then I'll be like, what did
Yeah.
I just experience? I got to. So it's not. It's just interesting because the first thing I've experienced was Dooku Jedi Lost, that
Oh yeah,
audio drama, and I really enjoyed that. It was
that was
well
really
put
cool.
together. They have a Doctor Afra one coming out. I'm excited about it. I know you're not the biggest fan of Afra, to
Yeah.
each
No.
everybody's own, right? Hey,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
you like what you like. You don't, whatever. It's everybody
yeah.
can have their opinion. And that's what's cool about Star Wars is everybody has
Hmm.
an opinion. It's just as long as you're not an a-hole about it and you
Right.
can
That's
agree to disagree,
yeah.
everybody's
That's
happy.
that's the thing too about over at the Geeks Attic, where it's like we can make fun of canon, we can make fun of expanded universe, but we love it all.
Yeah.
There's some bad books, there's some good books. Whatever book you like, I might not like, and I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's people are going to say, "Hey, I like the Crystal Star." I'm not going to say, "Well, you're an idiot." It's that's your opinion. Everybody has different tastes.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
respect that, and I'm glad that some other people can too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about our favorite character or characters if you can't just choose one. From Expanded Universe slash Legends, who's a
Mm.
character that really stood out to you in all of these stories that you've read so far?
So far, my absolute favorite character would be Darth Bane. I think
Such a good one, man.
he is an incredible character in expanded universe, and I would love to see that brought back into canon more than it already is. I know there was that scene in the Clone Wars where they brought Darth Bane in. He was like
Mm-hmm.
a Force Vision ghost or
Yes, in
something
the
like
Yoda
that.
arc at season 5, the
Yeah.
last episode, episode 13, I believe it was.
Okay. So, yeah, I want something more than that. Something like if we could get the Mandalorian style show for
Oh
Darth Bane,
man,
sign me up because I think that would be incredible. And here's that book. For those who
yes,
might not know what the
Path of
cover is, Darth
Destruction.
Bane. Yes, it's just the character. He's a tragedy.
Yes.
Everybody goes in thinking that Bane is just this bad A dude that just can conquer everything, but he's got trials. He's got to face. He's got to overcome so much from his past. He fell into where he was, where he becomes. It's just an incredible story. There's 3 books. It's a trilogy. My favorite of the trilogy is the first book.
Mm-hmm. The
So,
Origins of Darth Bane.
mhm, yeah,
Yes. Yes,
okay.
I remember reading that book. Definitely one of my favorite book trilogies and one of my favorite books, Path of Destruction. Back in college, I think it was 2013 or 2014, one of those years. I remember that was the book that I had my roommate that I grew up, and he actually roomed with me in the same college. Like every day, I was like walking over to his room. We had 2 separate rooms. It was nice.
Yeah.
Being in college and not having to be in the same room was pretty convenient.
Yeah.
So I would walk over to his room like every day, like explaining like some crazy thing that happened with Darth Bane. It was like this. I've never had that experience like with a book where I had to tell somebody about it like right then and there. I was just like
Yeah.
reading in my room, walked down the hallway. I was like, dude, Darth Bane just got on top of this dragon creature and flew through an atmosphere to another planet called Duxon, and it was like, what is going on? This guy's the most powerful Sith ever
Yeah.
imagined. Like he's attaining the knowledge of the previous Sith, like Darth
Hmm.
Revan and all these other fantastic guys, and just outsmarting legions of Sith. Remember, the book starts, and I'm not going to spoil too much, but like there's the army of the Jedi and the army of the Sith. And somehow, through the course of these events, Darth Bane is able to actually create the rule of 2 because the Sith are fighting each other. and it's not getting them anywhere. The only way that they can
Hmm.
conquer the Jedi is to be more focused on their approach and be more thoughtful. And to only do that is to not have infighting, and that's he concocts his whole plan. And that's the thing about Darth Bane is like you look at this character, oh, this guy's just like a big brute, right? He's just like, oh yeah, but no, he's very intelligent.
Hmm.
He's a huge dude. He's
Yeah.
worked in the mine all of his life. He's jacked, but
Yeah.
he's also got a really sharp wit and very very cunning skill of cheating others and getting what he wants.
Yeah. It's an incredible story, and it's funny because my dad, who he likes to read occasionally, doesn't really care for Star Wars. I mean, he took me to see the special editions when they came out in theaters in the '90s, like '97. But that was it. We never went to see any of the new stuff together. But he's never read Star Wars books. He just kind of thinks like whatever, as long as you're reading. Because growing up, I hated reading. I
Mm-hmm.
should have said that when I said, I picked this up because I didn't like reading. Books were stupid. But then when I read that, I was like, my life is changing. So then I read all the time now. And my wife now, she's like, are you going to start another book? Can we watch a show first? Like, well, later. But I took this book over to my parents and I told my dad, would you please read this book? And he did. And he was like, well, that's actually a pretty good book. Is there another one? And I was like, yes,
Oh,
yes, there's another one.
wow.
So he's waiting on that. I need to take that over
That
there
is
to him.
so
But
awesome. See, I
yeah,
mean, my mother reads, but that the last thing she would ever read is a Star Wars
Star Wars
book.
book. Yeah.
But I mean, my first expanded universe slash legends book was the Throne Trilogy. I believe
Mm,
I can remember for whatever reason I have this crazy memory of me like sitting in the dentist's or no, the eye doctor's office reading Heir to the Empire and I don't know why like certain things that I read in Star Wars books like I can remember where I was when I read about it, and I remember the whole part with like the Nogri and like Leia and all this stuff happening, and I was singing in the eye doctor's office. I'm like, why am I remembering this like 20 years later?
yeah,
But
yeah.
I had to be like maybe 12 or 13 when that came out, and I was just like, again, it was like the continuing stories of Luke Skywalker and Leia and Han Solo in ways
Hmm.
that we never expected them to return on the screen. Here we get these awesome stories of literally a sequel to what happened, and
Yeah.
it's this way of and again like that was great for me as a kid growing up. I was getting better at vocabulary, getting better at context clue, all this stuff because of Star Wars helped me with my knowledge and with my education, along with other things like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, reading them as a kid,
Right.
like between ages of like 10 and 15 and all that. So um, yeah, I guess favorite. Did we go over? I guess favorite character is Darth Bane then, right? Of
Yes.
Legends, yeah.
Yes.
So you kind I mean, I don't know why I didn't think of Darth Bane, but I probably would have said that was mine as well. So I'm gonna come up with another one right off the top of my head, and it's one that I find a lot of people on Twitter, especially, find very uh, they don't. It's kind of somebody has problems with them, and that's Darth Dash Rendar.
Oh yeah. See, I know that. Yeah, people would laugh at me too. I
People
remember
laugh
bringing that
at
up in a
Dash
video.
Rendar. Oh, they gave him
Yeah.
such a hard time.
Yeah. They say he's like the poor man's Han Solo or
Yes, he's
something.
like the diet Han Solo.
Like, oh, whatever.
I
I could see Kurt Russell playing him in a live
Yeah,
action. I mean, that'd
yeah,
be
yeah.
cool.
And like I said, in the last like 3 or 4 years, I've read Shadows of the Empire, and I don't know. And I mentioned he's one of my favorite characters. He might not be the best character. He might not have the most character development out of any of the characters. But for me, he's somebody I like to enjoy reading about or playing in a video game or reading about in a comic book. And
Hmm.
that meant a lot to me when Shadows of the Empire came out.
Oh
And it
yeah, that
was
was
like
the still one of the coolest games of all time, in my opinion.
yeah, and just the way that they did this like multimedia marketing where they had these action figures and the video game and the comic books, and I think we're gonna get hopefully something like that with the High Republic where
Oh
like
yeah, that would be cool. I mean,
they
they even had a soundtrack for
yeah.
Shadows of the Empire.
Oh my gosh, I'll
So
never forget that. Like that
yeah,
soundtrack is incredible. It's like chilling and everything about it was just very criminal esque, and that's why I love like Star Wars when it gets into like
right.
the lower levels of Coruscant, or you get to Nar Shaddaa, or any of those like scum and villainy type locations,
Yeah.
because Dash Rendar was in the thick of it. He's dealing with Boba Fett and IG-88, and he's trying to track down Boba Fett with Han Solo, and it's like this really awesome tale. But Dash Rendar was just, I mean, he looked cool.
Yep.
Honestly, not only is my favorite character, but he has my favorite ship of all time, which is the
It's just
YT
that
twenty four hundred, the
yeah,
Outrider.
the Outrider, one of the coolest ships in Star Wars.
Yeah, I
You know?
actually have the damn toy of it
Yeah,
hidden
me too.
back in the storage somewhere. But yeah, I used to fly around with that thing in my room all the
Yeah.
time. Like, yeah, the Dash Radar's in there. He's coming to the rescue.
Yep. See, that's funny because I just did a video recently of showing off all those action figures.
Oh,
For those the Power of the Force action
yeah,
figures, and I
yeah,
had
yeah, yeah.
all the ships and everything, and I'm like, had a couple characters. I'm like, I know I had Dash Rendar. What happened to him?
Oh
And
no.
I pulled up the Outrider. He was sitting in the
Ah,
cockpit.
of
So
course,
I
of
was like, all
course.
right, good, good.
Yeah, yeah. So now let's talk about, is there a Legends character that you would love to see come back into canon? So Bane is already in canon, so you can't have
Right,
him.
right. Yeah. See, you know what? I'll go with Jorah Sabath
Okay.
because he's got a very interesting background, and the way that he how he winds up in later on in the expanded universe is pretty different. I have to refresh. I need to revisit the Thrawn trilogy because I can't remember how he actually ends up. But from Outbound Flight, he was a very interesting character. He's demanding. He's seems pretty big. He doesn't take no for an answer. He's gonna do what he wants when he wants to do it, and he doesn't care who stands in his way. Better watch out for him. So I think he would be a very interesting Jedi character that we could get in the future. Bring him over into a series. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I have to reread Heir of the Empire trilogy one of these days because
Yeah,
he was such a big part of it.
yeah.
Just
But that's I think you
yeah.
should read this one first, though.
Oh,
Do this
okay.
one first.
Okay.
But yeah, even his little cameo in Cloak of Deception is with the
Oh,
book that he was a
that's the
little
one
cameo in there.
with Grievous on the cover, right? Or
No,
Vader?
that's got. See, I could be saying the wrong book. That's the thing that happens. It's got Chancellor Valorum on it.
Oh, is that the one right before Revenge of the Sith?
Yes,
That's the book that leads into it, right?
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's the one.
yeah,
Cloak
that's.
of Deception.
Oh, he was in that, huh?
You have Valorum, Palpatine on the cover, and Qui-Gon Jinn. You might not be able to see it on. No, not gonna work. But yeah, by James Luceno.
Oh, James Lucene. I need to see him write another Star Wars book ASAP because what he did with
Mm-hmm.
Catalyst and what he did with Tarkin were such great entries into canon. They really
Yeah,
shedded a lot of light on these characters and these stories around the Empire.
yeah. Yeah, I would
Um,
love to have that. But I would
yeah.
like I think seeing George Sabath in a live action thing would be cooler than getting him in a book maybe. Either one would be fine though
Was he
for me.
was he like specialized in a certain kind of training as a Jedi? Was he like really powerful in the Force, or was he like really good
He's
with a lightsaber? Like,
not really. He's just like a bull pretty much.
mhm.
It's like the crowd's part when he walks in because he's not going to sidestep anybody. He's not going to be like, "Excuse me." He just
Oh,
kind of just plows through the crowd so everybody's going to like, "Okay, watch
so
out.
he's
Oh,
not a
here he comes."
typical Jedi then. He's
No,
not.
he is not at all. No.
Okay.
So he's one of those problems, that the council has. Like, oh, here he comes, here he is. So, yeah, makes him very interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
okay.
like the darker Qui-Gon Jinn, I guess you could say.
Ah, yeah, see, I love those types of Jedi though because we're so used to those Jedi being so dogmatic and like set in their ways, and they're just
Yeah,
going about their ways, and they're, oh yes, they'll consult with the council and they'll take their time and all this sort of thing. But then
yeah,
yeah, you have the Mavericks like Qui-Gon Jinn. You have
yeah.
those types of characters that kind of go against the grain and make the council like have problems a little bit with
Question,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, they
And
question
even
things.
I mean, he does dabble in some stuff. I don't want to spoil stuff, so I don't want to give too much away. But he does things that you'd be really surprised of, like, whoa, what is he doing?
Mm-hmm.
Probably should stop that. So he crosses some boundaries and
Oh man.
as a Jedi. So very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So a character that I think a lot of people thought was officially back in canon, and I was saying it from the get go, like, no, that isn't that character. Mine would have to be Prince Zizor.
Ah, yes, yes.
And in the Clone Wars season, the latest season that came
Uh-huh.
out, in the Siege of Mandalore arc, there's the crime syndicates that is underneath Maul's thumb, and one of them is the Black Sun, and instantly you're like, Black Sun, that makes
Yeah,
that filing has to be it's got to be Zizor, right? No, it's not him. There's another name for the character, all right, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
see, I remember I sent you a picture and I was watching. I was like,
yes,
like, is that? Oh my gosh, there he is! And you're like, no, that's the guy from season. And I'm like, oh,
but really, I think he could fit so well
uh,
into like. There's no reason why they can't have him. I get it. Like people really had problems with him in Shadows of the Empire book because the stuff he did with Leia was a little bit
yeah,
strange, and it probably
he's
wouldn't be very float very
family
good with a
friendly.
lot of people today's world.
Right, that's true. He was a little, yeah, a
But
little
they could
pervy.
simply just not do that this time around and just have this big head honcho into Black Sun
Yeah,
and now
yeah.
that we're getting the Star Wars comic flagship main series that's actually in between Empire and Return of the Jedi, I think that would be a great way to reintroduce him into canon in the comic books and then have him like maybe even go further than Return of the Jedi and like have him be one of the lead crime people because when
Mm-hmm.
the Empire shattered, you see the Mandalorian, everything's like all over the place.
Yeah,
How about Zizor? How about him being one of the head honchos, especially now that Jabba the Hutt is
yeah.
dead? There's a
Somebody's gonna have
power
to step up.
vacuum. Somebody's got to fill that vacuum of power. Why couldn't it be Prince Zizor? Bring him back better than ever. Have him an even better story than Shadows of the Empire, and really give him a lot of clout. Kind of like what they did with
Yeah.
Darth Maul and Phantom Menace. Like you have this guy that says one line, and then next thing you know, he's such a better character with all this development throughout the series. I could do the same thing with such minor characters, and other things we've seen before.
I think that would be awesome. I would
Yeah,
love that.
yeah, I'm just all for every Shadows of the Empire tie-in to come back in some way or shape.
Yeah, these are
Um,
the only live action stuff we have of it, right? Is the Outrider and the special edition of A New Hope
yeah,
above Mos Eisley.
yeah. There's the same ship design appears in Rebels as well, and
I
I
always
just
like
want.
to think that that's Dash taking off.
Yeah, yeah,
Gonna go do some
seriously.
crazy smuggle business.
Oh man. And speaking of Shadows of the Empire, what's your favorite time period in Star Wars? Because we have a heck of a lot of them now.
Oh man, I know. It's complicated because with the expanded universe stuff I've read, I read all of the New Republic era books before I decided to go back to the beginning. So I've got the New Republic. I finished the Old Republic. I'm reading The Rise of the Empire right now. So I'm going to say Old Republic right now is my favorite in the expanded universe. It's got so much lore and dark stuff, like with Sith activity that happened way back then, is just very interesting, and I enjoy it. I mean, yeah, a lot of the New Republic stuff was fun to like, oh, they've got to establish their government, they've got to figure this stuff out. Here we're on adventures with Luke, Han, and Leia again, but it kind of does get a little old after a while, and you're like, well, let's go look at some stuff that I've never known before that we get little nuggets of throughout the canon of these things that happened a long time ago. I just think they're great. You get characters like Bane, Revan.
Yeah, Revan.
One of the other ones that I like a lot that I can never remember his name. He's bald. He kind of looks like Vader, but he's not Vader.
Malgus.
Malgus. I thought that book Deceived was incredible too.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
I
that's
gotta
that to
agree.
say.
I gotta agree. I was gonna say the same. Old Republic. I mean, all of this dates back to the video games, honestly, like the Knights of the Republic and Knights of the Republic 2. And then, of course, I was really addicted, I would say, probably, to Star Wars The Old Republic MMO. And I still play the game from time to time. And then all the books were kind of based around the games. And they did a great job with putting out books, like you said. Of course, the Darth Bane trilogy ties in so well. Then you got the book Revan, then you got Deceived, then you got Fatal Alliance, then you got Annihilation, and there's probably a lot of other books, but those are mainly the ones with the Knights of the Old Republic. But yeah, like you said, I mean, we haven't seen that on screen yet, but the idea that we have entire armies of Force wielders going head to head like you would expect to see in something like Game of Thrones. It's like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
imagining the Sith War and the Jedi War, and then the Mandalore Wars, and all this kind of stuff happening, where it's boggles the mind. Like you said,
right.
it explores really awesome facets of the Force and
Hmm.
how the Jedi behaved back then compared to how they behave now, and why things like I said before had to turn into the rules. To you find out so much more. And it's all about this like sense of discovery, right? This like mystery of the Force, and they're going into these temples on planets like Yavin 4, and you're hearing about characters like Caldromo, or I forget the
Exar Kun.
Exar Kun, stuff like
Yeah.
that. There's so many of them, and in fact, one of them was recently canonized. Actually, a few of them were in the Rise of Skywalker Visual Dictionary, and one of the Rise of Skywalker Junior novelization. Canonized one of those guys I kind of flipped out for a second. I was like, wait, this book actually introduced this guy into canon? It was like, yes.
Yeah, those are fun little things to have happen too. When you know how one thing ends up in expanded universe and then they bring it into canon, and like a lot of people get mad, but there are a lot of us too that are like, oh, cool, I'm ready to see how they change it up a bit. You know,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
not?
yeah.
People say, oh, you're still in our characters. No, you're not. It's all Star Wars.
Uh, yeah, that's. I don't agree with that.
No.
Who? Let's see. I mean, you might have mentioned this already, but do you have a favorite story so far in all of Legends?
Favorite story? Um, I mean, just I think the whole Darth Bane tragedy is got to be my favorite story. But Outbound Flight, though, that blew my mind. I did not expect that book to go as good as it
Mm-hmm.
did. And I mean, you've got several different things happening with you get the Thrawn introduction, and you've got the Outbound Flight, which is this group who is going out into the unknown space, unknown regions to travel to see what they can find, maybe establish new little uh, places throughout the galaxy, and find new Jedi.
Hmm.
It's really interesting. And you bring in one of the coolest characters of all time, Thrawn. So it was a really good book. I think that might be one of my favorites right now too. Um, with the expanded universe so far, like I said, I've got so much that I have to read with the expanded universe too. So
Oh yeah,
I'm sure I'm sure I'm going to come across one that's going to blow my mind again, and it's going to replace. Oh well, this is my favorite one now.
do you have a current count on how many of the expanded universe novels there are, at least for the ones you have right now?
How many are there total?
Yeah.
I think there's maybe 140, maybe
Wow.
something around there. I think
Wow.
maybe less, maybe more. I know it's like it's over 130. I know that. So
Yeah, and
I've got them
and I,
all bookshelf behind me.
yeah. And what I really like about them is they have these huge series of books like that are all connected, right? Like you
Oh
have the
yeah,
New Jedi Order, that's a big one, and then Legacy or something, right, or something like that.
yeah, yeah. You got Legacy of, and then New Jedi Order, and then like the Old Republic we talked about. I don't. It's on. I've got two bookshelves behind me. They're on the far one, so
Uh,
I can't really see them all. So, but yeah, and my brain gets fried sometimes when I'm trying to talk about these things because it's just so massive, and trying to retain what I do read through, and then what I've taking in on the video, like watching Rebels and Clone Wars back to back. Like I'm gonna binge these. Like it's probably not the smartest thing to do because you're like I'm forgetful. But yeah, like I read episode one, Phantom Menace, and Outbound Flight right after each other, like one after the next, and
uh-huh.
then a new canon book did Poe Dameron Free Fall. So it's like that's three Star Wars books in a row, and I'm like,
Oh my
what am I
gosh.
going? What am I
That's
going to
exactly
retain?
what I'm thinking about. I'm like, how can I do that?
Yeah, and then thinking about the approaching storm. I've got to do that one too. It's hard to keep it all in there and stay focused on it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. For me, I think this is a tough one. Like, I should have thought more about this. Like, my favorite Legends book. I mean, I'll be granted, guys. Like, I haven't read a lot of Legends books. I could probably count on two hands how many Legends books I've read, or at least care to remember reading. Um, like and all the Legends books I've read, I've really enjoyed the ones I've read. Like, I've read Kenobi, I've read Darth Plagueis. I think might be my favorite if it's compared to Darth Bane, which you've already talked about.
yeah,
I'll just say for the reason of this episode, let's talk about Darth Plagueis as one of the best ones because you've read that, right?
yes, I have. That's one I have to revisit it though because I read it a long time ago, failed to take notes, and then I read so much
Yeah,
since that book. I was like, oh,
yeah,
I don't remember much about that one for some reason. So I need to revisit.
yeah. What Darth Plagueis does so well is basically a prequel to the prequels.
Hmm.
Like you see the rise of Palpatine and how he overthrows Plagueis. You actually even see Plagueis's master named Tenebrous,
Yeah,
and about how
yeah,
he does whatever overthrows him. So
Yeah.
it goes into like the Sith conspiracy of like maybe Anakin was created in this Force spell with when Maul was out doing his stuff as an assassin
Mhm.
beforehand. And it pretty much butts up into the Phantom Menace because it shows literally Palpatine killing Plagueis.
Right.
Such
Yeah.
It was really really
It's
good tie-in material for me, and
it's
that's
pretty
why.
dark
Oh,
too,
it's
from
very
what I
dark.
remember. So
It is
be, I'm really
definitely.
looking forward to rereading that one. I think I probably should do that before I do The Approaching Storm. See, I've got to think about these things.
Oh man, yeah, and it's well regarded in the community as people talk about Star Wars Legends. Darth Plagueis usually comes up in the conversation more than
Oh yeah,
once.
that's the one I think most people would say like, oh, bring one into canon.
Yeah,
That's the one that people choose.
yeah, exactly.
So people
It-
want more Sith.
yes, exactly. Well, we talked a while about Legends, and I'm sure we can go on for quite a bit more, but I think that's going to do it for us on this episode. So tell the good folks of the channel where they can find you on the internet, Matt.
Well, I am over on Facebook, Matthew Wilson. I also have a page there, The GeeksAttic, if you wanted to look there. Twitter, Instagram, at The GeeksAttic, YouTube, TheGeeksAttic. That's where you can find me. I've got a website, TheGeeksAttic.com. Really haven't been too active on there lately, but that's going to change. So that's where you can find me.
Yeah, seriously, go to his channel, subscribe to his channel, like his video. Like I'm telling you guys, I've been loving his content since I discovered it. He's a good guy, and he's down to earth, and he doesn't put out stuff on the internet that he doesn't trust and he doesn't believe in. So you could definitely do yourself a favor and check out his stuff. So guys, let me know in the comment section below what your favorite Legends book is, timeline, all that good stuff, and let me know about the format. This is a new video series, Outer Rim Transmission, going forward. It's going to be on a regular basis. I'm not committing to like a weekly thing or anything, but I'm going to be talking to others again in the community about Star Wars, about different topics every video I put out. So more on Star Wars. You guys can subscribe to the channel where I talk about things like Clone Wars, which sadly came to an end. I'll be talking a lot more about exciting things like the High Republic. So that is going to do it for me, Starrapter, and for Matt. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always.
And thank you very much, Chris.
All right. Okay, that worked out very well. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.